Good afternoon, Changemakers. It's Sean Patrick here from the UK, and we're here on a very special PPC Blab call with the wonderful Appio Hunter. Hello, Appio.
Hello.
And the PPC founder, Lee Daniel. Why, hello, sexy Lee Daniel.
Hello.
It's amazing. It's so good to be speaking with you both today. The topic of our conversation is one I'm incredibly excited about. It's what stops us from sharing our message. And Lee, I know everything you did with Project Positive Change and starting the whole program was to give people a platform to share their message. And Appio, I know you work with people energetically, and I can guarantee that's very likely a block that comes up. So whilst we have the pleasure of having you on the call, Lee, please tell us what prompted you to start Project Positive Change in regards to helping people share their message.
Well, the number one reason that I started Project Positive Change was because I've been a practicing divorce lawyer for 22 years. And so I saw so many people that were unhappy in so many different ways. They had mental health issues, or they had spending issues, or they had marital issues. And I know that lots of people need to be reached that aren't being reached. And so my hope was that more people could get the message of hope by using Project Positive Change. And if I collected a bunch of people that had lots of different skills, energetic skills, and could deal with, like we had a question earlier about how do I get my husband to support my business. There's lots of different relationship counselors and spiritual counselors on Project Positive Change. And so if we could put it all in one place, then we could find solutions for people that need help and want to hear these messages. So that's the impetus there.
Thank you so much. And for anyone on this call who is listening in who doesn't know about Project Positive Change, it is a collective group of conscious entrepreneurs. It goes out now to 50,000 people via its Facebook page, and it's for people who are ready to share their message and who want to come on the platform. So Carol Miller is calling in. Let me just welcome her onto the call. Hello, Carol. She's coming. Carol.
There she is.
Hello, I am so sorry I'm late.
Oh no, it's no problem at all. We're having fun.
Hello, Carol.
Yeah.
Hello, lovely lady.
Incredible. So, joining us is Carol Miller from the Facebook page Positive Focus. Why, hello, my love.
Hello.
How's everything going? How you've been working on an event today? Is that right?
Yes, it starts tomorrow, so I'm in Houston getting ready for an event this weekend.
Incredible.
Nice.
So for those just joining us, the topic is what stops us from sharing our message. So Appio, I'm going to come to you. When you work energetically with people, do you find there are blocks around sharing a message? Or, I mean, for me, this really kind of resonates with, kind of the purpose we came here for, the purpose we came to Earth for. Do you find that that's a block with people?
Yes, that's a very frequent block. For me, what I've noticed is that most frequently, a lot of the blocks, especially the emotional blocks, are centered around a belief that somehow the person is not worthy of getting out there and sharing that particular message. Worthiness is a huge, huge issue for a lot of folks, men and women. So energetically, that is probably the biggest one that I encounter. Fear is another big one that I encounter as well.
Well, it's interesting because I spoke to people before doing this call about what do you think stops people from sharing their message? And literally every answer was fear of something, fear of ... fear of ... And it always is the thing. Carol, do you find that's true with fear being what primarily stops us from sharing our message?
I think it's absolutely about fear. And again, kind of like what Appio said, at the end result, it goes down to self-worthiness. Do you feel worthy of sharing that message?
Yes. So, Carol, tell us about your message, and did you have your own personal journey of having to overcome a fear to start sharing it? Because we know you go out to a lot of people, you reach a lot of people with your message, and I assume it wasn't always this way.
Well, and it's interesting because that is my story, is about being seen. That people want to be heard, they want to be known that they matter and to be seen. And I have always hidden behind that and not wanted to share my message. I'm not a very tall person. And I use that as my story for many years. Well, people can't literally see me. And somebody once told me, it's like, Carol, you walk into a room not wanting to be seen. So, and it just hit me then. It's like, oh my gosh, I am creating that. So as soon as I stood in my own power, it just doesn't happen as much. I mean, it still happens a little bit here and there, But really,
Mm-hmm.
the more you step into your own power and your own courage, and it requires a lot of courage to be who you authentically are.
Well, I think that's really interesting because it's to do with courage, and like you said, you by taking small steps, you get more comfortable in your power to share your message. Lee, I wanted just to come to you about some of the reasons that I spoke to people about what stops them from sharing their message, and one that came up was thinking that it's already been done before. Now, this can speak a lot to Project Positive Change because, like you said, we've got a few relationship coaches, we've got a few energy practitioners, we've got a few spiritual teachers, but they're all out there still sharing their message without this story of it's already being done before. So can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, because I think that just like with any professional, or we all resonate with different people. So
absolutely.
Just like I talked about being a lawyer, not everybody's going to feel the same way with every lawyer, every doctor. Everybody is going to resonate differently with different coaches or different relationship people. And so it's about energetic levels, and it's also about our messaging. So we all have a different message, even though we're saying the same thing, as we say it from a different perspective.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because if you're coming into this profession as maybe like a spiritual teacher or a happiness teacher or whatever it is that comes under this bracket, you do stop yourself and say, well, someone's already doing it. But no doctor ever stopped and said, oh, there's already a doctor in the world, I'm not going to go and do that. But we tend to do it when it comes to, this more creative career path we have. Another one that came up with the people that I was speaking to was fear of being humiliated. Carol, you had a big expression there. Can you speak to that at all?
I absolutely can, because as the group here knows, I do free hugs. Yes. And every time I go out there, when I go by myself, which is a rarity, I always feel like people are going to be judging me standing there by myself. And I feel more like the hugs are for me. Like, look at that poor girl needing a hug. So it's purely about putting yourself out there. And if I have other people standing with me, I feel like I'm helping. So, it really is. It's baby steps and being okay, being uncomfortable. Because when it's uncomfortable is where you grow.
It's so interesting you say that, because if I ever see anybody doing free hugs, I think, oh my God, how brave. And it's so interesting that the story in your head
it's purely my own story.
I have to share a story about that. Please. First time I tried doing the free hugs down in Key West, I was doing it with Haviland, who is a member of Project Positive Change, and just she's like known as the free hugs lady, where she lives in Omaha. And we were doing that. We were standing there with our signs, and the tourist buses that were going by were taking pictures of us as if we were, now mind you, we were both tourists, and people were taking pictures of us as if we were part of the local flavor.
Yeah.
Talk about having fun and at the same time, really stepping out there.
Well, even I know last time I was in Key West for the Possibilities in Paradise, we did free hugs, and I felt uncomfortable and I felt embarrassed at that fear of being humiliated. But I was so proven wrong, because people just love it, and they come and they hug, and it is, I guess, standing into your message, because you're sharing love. So absolutely incredible. I want to get more involved in free hugs in the future.
Excellent. I'll sign you up.
Please do, Carol. We'll hang out. I'll come to Chicago. The other fear I've got here is fear of not being relevant. Appio, is there anything you can speak on that, fear of not being relevant?
That's a huge one for me, actually. That was one of the biggest ones that I personally had to overcome, because every time that I would step out there and I would talk to people, one of the things that blocked me from sharing my message was the fact that, okay, this person studied and has this certification and that certification. I kept on pulling out the yardstick and measuring myself against people. I felt like I'm not relevant, because most of my experience doesn't come from a school or from having studied from a really, big guru or something. My experience came from literally the school of hard knocks. Yes. My experience came from just going out there and doing what I do, and having that natural instinct and that intuitive guide to be able to step out there and do the energy work that I do. So I was always holding myself back, always thinking I was not relevant, because I was somehow always comparing myself to other people. When I finally got past it, and I realized that, you know what? I have nobody else to compare myself to except me. And there's always going to be somebody out there I can work with.
And I think one thing that we've definitely all come to learn, the more and more spiritual conferences and self-help conferences we go to, we're drawn to people's stories more so than their information.
Yes.
I read in a book, it was A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink. And he says that people aren't buying what you're selling, they're buying who you are. And I just find that so powerful. And Lee, and this definitely resonates with the people in Project Positive Change, because it's very much about the teacher more so than the content of what they're saying, I believe. Would you say so?
Yeah, because I think most of us are bound by, we have the same belief in energy and that we can create our own life. And so when people ask me, there are lots of different people in Project Positive Change from all different diverse industries. What do they have in common? And I said, we all believe that we can create our lives. We all believe that energetically we can create the life of our dreams. And we may say it in different ways. We may be copywriters, or we may be coaches, or there's lots of different things, but we all are saying the same thing, and it's just what your story is around that.
So I've got thinking it's already been done, fear of being humiliated, fear of not being relevant. Any major big ones come up for any of you guys straight to your head now?
Yeah, I think people, I just did, I spoke at an event in Brussels, and we're doing an event in London called Visibility and Possibility. And the biggest fear that people had was that they weren't going to be prepared. They weren't going to be perfect. People were going to talk about them, or were going to criticize them. And what I always say to people is that if you're speaking from your heart and you're sharing a message that you know is going to help other people, to stop looking at yourself and start looking at what you're serving. Who are you serving? What are you serving? Why are you serving it? Instead of thinking, oh, I said that wrong. Oh my God, I don't look good. I'm too fat, or I'm old, or because people I know won't get on video. You can see my wrinkles. Or people will, there's so many things about perfection, and yeah, Apio's looking at his wrinkles. I'm trying not to. When I freeze, I'm like, oh shit. Oh, can I say shit? Anyway.
Yeah. No, you
just did.
Perfectionism is a huge reason that people will not get out there and share their message.
But also, I feel like perfectionism sometimes it's like a defense mechanism. It keeps people from having to share their message. So
absolutely.
A lot of people will claim, oh, I'm a perfectionist, that's why I'm not out there. But it's more of a fear than a high standard of actually what you want. Because for some perfectionists, it's never going to be good enough. And I think one thing I'm probably quite guilty of is, I think one of my affirmations is, I allow good enough to be good enough. And I'm often just putting out content.
That's good.
I allow good enough to be good enough. And so often on my Facebook page, on That Guy Who Loves the Universe, there'll be spelling mistakes in some of the things I write. I don't care. I want content out there. I want to do it. And that's always been my mantra. I allow good enough to be good enough. So that speaks to the perfectionist. Now, the other one you mentioned, Lee, fear of being criticized. I think that's probably the biggest one we spoke about so far.
Right.
Anything, Apio, you can say on fear of being criticized?
Boy, I think I share that one with you, Lee, because and the perfectionism thing as well. Mm-hmm. In fact, I really think that the perfectionism and the fear of being criticized really kind of go hand in hand, because that need for perfectionism, not only is it a way of hiding and keeping us from being able to put ourselves out there, but at the same time, it blocks that criticism, that fear of the criticism. And so much of the criticism really is kind of going up in our heads. We are our biggest, most fearsome critics.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's usually, in fact, 99.9% of the criticism is up here.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If we can turn that around and get rid of that negative self-talk and that chatter, then we're going to find that. In fact, if anything, if we screw up on stage, I've done that several times. So I've screwed up. I knew I screwed up. Nobody else did. Wow, amazing.
Absolutely. And I know when I get off stage from doing a talk or delivering a workshop, I'm not scared about what the participants are going to say to me. I'm scared about what I'm going to say to me. Absolutely. And as long as I'm cool with it and I feel like I've done a good job, it wouldn't bother me that if people weren't all that happy. But I know if I'm beating myself up and someone says something, I'm going to take it such the wrong way. I'm going to act so disproportionately because of that. So that is definitely one. Okay, so we have got thinking it's already been done before, fear of being humiliated, not being relevant, not being prepared, and fear of being criticized. Anything else from Apio or Carol?
I would just like to add, as far as the fear of being criticized, what helps me is thinking about all the big speakers before me. I mean, people
Sure.
hate Oprah Winfrey, and millions love her. So there's far more people who are supportive of her. So you're always going to have people who disagree with you or aren't ready for your message, or your message just isn't the right message for them. So the more you know, like Lee said, and I believe Apio, as long as you're coming from your heart and doing what's right for you, your audience is going to be there. And you just need to, take steps forward in doing it.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people want to feel like they are practiced enough. Or am I ready? Am I ready to share my message? Am I ready? And there's nothing that's going to get you ready but just starting, and that's the same thing with when I started doing retreats and I started doing Possibilities in Paradise. I just set a date and said, I'm going to have an event in Key West, Florida. And if I had waited till I was ready, we still wouldn't be having an event in Key West, and this will be our 7th one. And so it's a matter of just stepping into your place in the world and not waiting until you're so-called ready. The readiness is going to come, right?
And
I'm sure there's a good quote about that. I don't know what it is. That's just...
We'll find one. Or we can make it up.
You just made one.
And people feel your authenticity.
Absolutely.
So long as you're coming from your heart, even if you do say something wrong on stage or whatever it is, they know where it's coming from. So step forward into what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a situation. Can I tell? So I was speaking to a group of high school students, and I was asked to come and speak, and they were the cutest things ever. I don't have children, so I don't know much about how they dress or what they do. I just thought if I bring them some donuts, they're going to be happy. It's the middle of the afternoon. I brought donuts and Coke. I thought they'll be hyped up. Anyway, so while I was talking, there was this absolutely adorable little kid, and they kept raising their hand, and I called it. I said, "You want to be a little actress?" And he said, "Actress? I'm a guy." And I remember I thought I was going to crawl under the TV.
Yeah.
I thought, that's it. I'll scar this kid forever. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. But they just wear clothes that look so, why wouldn't you be wearing blue instead of, but anyway.
Yes.
So it was fine. But I worried about the fact that I'd called him a little girl for probably 3 weeks. In fact, I think that's been 3 years ago. And I'm still, thinking about it, and probably way more, and I talked to the teacher and she said it's fine. And so I think we just get scared. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're not going to know what to say. That's another thing. If you're speaking and you're at a workshop, what if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer? Right?
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens? I'm sure that's happened to you, Sean. No, just kidding.
Yeah, no. Oh, that's flattering. Thank you, Lee. Well, I mean, with the work I do, I'm just going to be really honest. I don't always know the answer, but my answer is often, my answer is often, pray and meditate on that, and that's kind of a default. And I don't feel bad about that because Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite teachers, her answer is always meditate. So I'll take that. And I think, but one thing that's very important is, especially when you're in any industry which is around advice, it's important to know that don't put so much pressure on yourself to know all the answers. You're more so mediating the conversation between that person and themselves. I think that's one thing to definitely be sure of. I know Lee runs a workshop called Put Your Thoughts on Trial, and that is very much about facilitating a person with their own thoughts, with their own answers. And that is very much about, in any advice industry, is helping people find the answers within themselves. So that's one thing, that's one tip I can guess to give to people who might be scared of starting. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to be the giver of all information and knowledge. Just know that you're the medium in which they're going to find their answers.
Right. And I think that people love talking so much that, like you said, we're facilitating. And when you're sharing your message with a workshop, you don't have to know every sentence that's going to come next. Because people want to have it scripted. And I've been in workshops where people go, but what am I going to say next? Or what if this happens? Just let it flow and let the questions come. And you're going to know because it's in your heart. You're going to know the answers. Absolutely,
because isn't it the worst when someone's just reading off their PowerPoint slides? Yeah. So,
Oh, don't get me started on
well,
that.
absolutely, you want to start your message. So we've moved on to talking about the kind of cures, the cures for being able to share your message. We've covered. Lee was talking about start before you're ready, and we spoke about don't put all that pressure on yourself to know all the answers. Appio and Carol, what other antidotes can you give to people about being able to overcome this fear of sharing their message?
I think it's important to be gentle with yourself. And I'm a firm believer in whatever I say at that time needed to be said. I certainly always go with kindness anyway, but if I said something that wasn't appropriate for whatever reason, it needed to happen at that moment. So being gentle with yourself, knowing every speaker or every person that is doing what you do, they were exactly where you are right now. Try to figure it out and move forward. Like Lee, they did it. Like Lee said, I'm going to do this workshop, and she did it. So the more you just step forward, the quicker it's going to go, and you're really going to find out it's not as bad as your fear around it is.
Yes,
absolutely. It's the fear is really, what's the acronym that's frequently bandied about? False evidence appearing real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so. Yeah, it's very much a made-up story that we keep telling ourselves. And like Lee and Carol said, for me, the antidote was just going out there, just doing it in spite of the fear. But perhaps the biggest thing that really helped me once I started moving forward was letting go of the attachment of being right. Yeah. I realized that when I stopped wanting to be right, and, it's like, what? I don't care if these people accept it or not. I'm just going to do this because it's making me happy. I found that really helped me release so much of the fear that was actually there. And I became very detached from, I was passionate about the message. I was passionate about what I was doing, but I was detached from whether or not people were going to receive it.
Do you want to know what, Appio? What's that really inspired for me is one thing that I did was I released the need to be good at it. I was like, maybe I won't be good at this, but when you see a kid playing, just say a kid's playing Superman or whatever, they don't stop and say, "Am I committing to this enough? Do people believe that I'm Superman?" They don't really care if they're good at it or not. And that's one thing I've come to learn with my brand, That Guy Who Loves the Universe. I release the need to get it right every time. It's about having fun and sharing my story and sharing my message. And, if I release the need to be good at doing that.
That's the key right there is having fun. You just said the two key words. Have fun.
Incredible.
So I want to share a couple of things.
Please go, Lee.
So some fun things that I know. So I've had the pleasure of hearing everybody here speak. So you have to, as a messenger, be prepared for some unexpected things to happen. So with Appio once, we were going to speak on the beach, and it became the most tremendous deluge I have ever seen in Key West. There was water up to our knees. It was lightning, and we all had to run, and we all had to just plan something different. And you have to be, I think you have to be flexible. I think as a messenger, you have to be ready and flexible. And so they were able to speak later that night. Because if you get really tied up in your own idea of how things should go, that is a huge buzzkill, for lack of a better word. And so just being willing and ready to adapt makes it a lot easier. And so Sean spoke at an event that I had recently, and a beautiful homeless man came. Well, I'm being really, really super nice.
I remember that.
So, the homeless man came up and was super upset that Sean had taken his speech. We all had taken his speech over. So right in the middle of Sean speaking, there was a man telling us that we had taken his speech. And how did that feel, Sean?
Well, we just come out of a meditation. It honestly didn't knock me off center all that much. I know that as a whole group, there was maybe 40 people in the group. We allowed that conversation to happen.
Right.
And then it naturally went away in 3 minutes. Ideally, it would have gone away in 1 minute. But I guess we kind of allowed the space for that to happen. And Carol, were you there for that?
I was, and you know what? We saw him. He needed to be seen. So truly, it was beneficial for him.
Yeah, funny how 4 of us were actually there.
That readiness.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So Lee, what story do you have on me then?
Yeah.
I don't think I have any story. stories on you. You're amazing.
Oh.
That's when Carol spoke. Actually, it's in Carol Speak, and then she actually led us in the free hugs, and it's really empowering to go with like one of the leaders of the free hug movement, which Carol Miller is, because then it takes kind of the pressure off you. You're like, I'm with Carol. She knows what she's doing, and so I think we all felt kind of empowered to go out as a group and do free hugs because we were with Carol. So yeah, I don't have any good stories on Carol, but I'm always willing to get some.
Okay, well, we hope this time next year we've got a juicy story on you, Carol. I'm sure there'll be.
I'm sure you will within 6 months, so that's okay.
Okay, incredible. So let's go to audience questions. We've got one from Alexandra, which asks, do you have any advice on how to get my husband to support my business more? And Appio, this question was for you.
Right, so I'm happy to answer that, Alexandra. Thanks so much. First and foremost, what I found that particularly from when working with men, our society has conditioned us, especially Western society, has conditioned men to express support in very distant ways. And so, while they may in their own minds think that they are being supportive, to many women, they feel like, no, they're not being supportive because they're not being, they're kind of like they grunt. Or, they are very unresponsive. One of the key things to understand about that kind of a situation is to be okay with yourself and within yourself to be okay with whatever space he's occupying. And as long as you can release your attachments to him showing an outward form of support for you, what's going to happen is he's going to meet you, if you will, halfway there. Be okay with him being in his space. Give him the space to express himself in the way that he wants to express himself. And definitely release any need or attachment to getting it out of him. Forcing that kind of expression from support. It's more than likely there. In fact, hold on one second. I'm going to do something that I generally don't do in these types of forums, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because I usually read residual energy around people. And since you are present, basically what I'm picking up is, what I'm really picking up is that the fact that he doesn't know exactly how to express the support. And by giving him the space to express it in his way and not pushing him on it, but rather just being okay with him being in the space that he's in, there's a high probability that he will express more curiosity and kind of wants to know what it is that you're doing. So definitely, first of all, give yourself permission to be okay with it, and then meet him where he is and give him the space to maneuver, give him the space to work around and to walk around and to express the curiosity on his terms. And he should be okay. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much for that, Appio.
Absolutely.
Just in closing, I want to say to anyone on this call, anybody listening, it really is our hope as change makers from Project Positive Change that you do find that little bit more courage to step into your message and to share it with the world. That really is our hope for you, and that is really what we're here to support you with. So just before we finish the call, I want to just go back to Lee one more time so you can let people know a little bit more about Project Positive Change, people who are listening in, how they can get involved. And then I want to know where we can all find you all. So Lee, over to you first.
Okay, so Project Positive Change, you can go find us at on the web at Project Positive Change, and then on Facebook there we have a Project Positive Change, and we're having a telesummit all about messengers, and we have lots of great experts. So we would love for you all, thank you, Appio, we would love for you all to go and click in and watch the telesummit. We have really great speakers, people that are speaking professionally, people that have done all kinds of things, like Andy Grant, who's been on the chat with us today, has done so many things, and he gives some of his wisdom. And so I would love for you all to join us there. And if you have an interest in Project Positive Change, then you can find me, Lee Daniel, and you can send me a message. You can find me on Facebook, and then we can schedule a call. Right now, it's by invitation only. And so you would have to schedule a call to talk with me about joining.
I mean, it's just phenomenal so far. It's over. I mean, how many countries are we over now, Lee? We've got
We're in
France,
11 countries
India,
right now.
11. Incredible.
Yay.
So it's honestly this ever-growing kind of network of conscious entrepreneurs, and I know there's many listening. Come on board. It's a wonderful family. I have just grown so much through being part of it over the past year, so it's been wonderful. So yeah, thank you for that. Appio, where can people...
Design business manager asked a question earlier.
That's Alexandra.
Oh,
Yes,
Alexandra.
actually.
That's the same. Okay.
Alexandra, we did answer your question, and you can watch it on the playback. But Appio, just want to give maybe a quick summary of what the question was. Do not worry, Alexandra. We've got all the time.
That's right. It happens. We're used to it since Fly was in beta. We're used to these things, so that's fine. No, basically, very quick summary. Give him space to be in the space where he is right now, and give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to detach from the needs for him to support you, and everything will fall into place. But there's definitely a much more detailed explanation that you can watch on the recording afterwards.
Yes, we're about to close up any minute now, Alexandra, and then you can watch the whole recording and hear Appio's answer. It was really wonderful, so make sure you get a chance to watch it. Appio, please let people know where they can find you.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on appiohunter.com. I just put the website there in the chat, so you guys can see that. And I'll leave it there.
Amazing. Thank you, Appio, for your help on this call.
Absolutely.
Carol, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook through Positive Focus, or the website is positive-focus.com.
Incredible. Guys, you've all been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing your stories and all the ways in which we can all move forward with our message. It's been incredible to chat with you all. As you know, I love you all so much.
Mwah.
And for anyone listening in, this is the Project Positive Change Blab. We broadcast live every 2 weeks on a Thursday. So our next call is on the 23rd, I believe. Let me just confirm that. 2 weeks from today makes it the 26th. Sorry, 26th of May. It's 10 p.m. GMT time. Appio, what time was it for you?
It is currently 3:30 Mountain Time.
So 3 Mountain Time. Is that when we started? Carol, where are you?
Correct.
I'm in Chicago. Well, actually, right now I'm in Houston, but normally Chicago Central Time, it's 4 p.m.
Incredible. And Lee, what time
It's 4
zone?
p.m. It's 4:30 here.
No,
Well,
but
when we start.
Oh,
When the
started.
what happened? The time zones changed when I wasn't looking.
So Project Positive Change Lab on Thursdays, 10 p.m. GMT time, 3 p.m. Mountain time, 4 p.m. What are you?
Central.
Carol?
Central Standard Time.
Are you the same, Lee?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Central.
So 5
Yes,
p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time.
Incredible. Okay, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back in 2 weeks. You're so welcome. I love you guys.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Love you guys.
It's been great. Have a
Bye.
good
Good seeing all of you.
You
Take care.
too. Bye-bye.
Good. How do I get off?